Hello, McDoors Football Fan TV. This is the watch along. It's Manchester United against Aston Villa in the FA Cup third round. I'm joined by Gary Spain, and we haven't done one of these in a long, long time. And it's our first one of the new year. And speaking of New Year's, Gary, how was your New Year's celebrations?
Oh, very good. I actually went up north and I went to two games on New Year's Day. So I suppose you know me just watching football, but yeah, all good. Can't wait for our season to start here, but it's nice to see some Irish League games in the meantime.
Would be like you to get to a couple of games.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, obviously I was over in England myself, so I was busy. Well, I was over in England just after New Year's. In Brighton. So had a good couple of days in Brighton. First time there, really nice by the seafront there, and obviously it was Shane Duffy's surprise birthday as well. So enjoying the celebrations there with some of the Brighton lads. But looking forward to this game here tonight. It's obviously Manchester United and Aston Villa. Steven Gerrard coming up against Manchester United. We know the rivalry there. Apologies if you can hear my dog eating in the background there. I have a new pup, so I have to keep him in the room with me. So if you hear any crunching, that's all it is. What are you expecting out of this game anyway, Gary?
It's very hard to know in the cup, but I think both sides will be keen to have a cup run. It's probably Manchester United's last realistic chance of a trophy. I know they're still in the Champions League, but it's very hard to see them winning the Champions League on current form. But definitely, you couldn't rule them out of the FA Cup, although they'll have to be a lot better than they were against Wolves. And I suppose similar for Aston Villa. I mean, they're where they're mid-table in the league. Steven Gerrard has definitely made a difference since he's come in as manager. And Philip Coutinho is a superb signing. Obviously, he's not available tonight. He's only coming tomorrow, I think, to Birmingham. But it's their one chance of a trophy as well. And I've actually enjoyed the FA Cup over the weekend. And so I'm hoping it could be a good game. I think both teams will be going for it.
Yeah, obviously you mentioned there about the other games over the weekend. Lots of Irish involved, lots of Irish getting goals and assists. If you want to class Evan Ferguson's assist as an assist, but Shane Long on the score sheet as well. A couple of assists for him. I think James Collins got one yesterday to help Cardiff in their game against Preston as well. So lots of Irish involved and lots of Irish involved in goals. There was a lad who scored for Morecambe as well. I think it was O'Connor was his last
Anthony
name.
O'Connor from Cork, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he scored against Spurs. So there's plenty of Irish involved this week, which was great to see. And obviously, we want to see them playing more and more. Matt Doherty was involved for Spurs as well. Looked quite lively. He had a hand in the first goal there. We won the foul so Winks could then score the free kick, which it looked like it was a cross, but look, it still counts as a goal. But yeah, have you been most impressed by over the weekend out of our
Well,
Irish players?
I suppose there's an Irish involvement, but it's not. I'm going to go with Wes Houlihan. Not so much for his, but for Cambridge to go up to St James's Park and to beat Newcastle was absolutely amazing and a fantastic win for them. I know he's not Irish. I wish the goalkeeper was. He had a fantastic game, and but great to see Wezzo still doing it, and what a win for Cambridge. But yeah, great to see Shane Long score for Southampton, and just remind us that he's still relatively young and could still possibly do a job. And I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that our issues are all up front, and that's where. Well, I'm sure Stephen Kenny will have taken note that he's still scoring goals. So yeah, good to see.
Yeah, the same game. I think Michael Obafemi had a hand in the first goal, obviously coming up against Southampton for the first time since he left the club. But I think he done that. If you go back and watch the highlights, I'm pretty sure he sets up the first or one of the goals anyway for Swansea, and just looked lively. I think they were playing with 10 men for some part of that game. Southampton, I think, were actually sorry. Um, I think Obafemi actually has a hand in the own goal. But anyway, Southampton went up the other end and got the goal straight away. And then went to extra time. That's where Longy came alive with the assist and the goal. So fair play to him, as you say. We don't have enough Irish players A, playing regularly, and B, scoring regularly, which is obviously what we want to see now, and hoping that in the next couple of years that someone like an Evan Ferguson can start delivering and being a regular in the Premier League. I don't think it's going to happen straight away. I think it'll probably take him a season and a half maybe before we might see him actually properly introduced as maybe an actual regular for Brighton. I still think it's 17 to be relying on him is a little bit of a stretch when you have players like Welbeck and you have players like Maupay and Trossard all playing ahead of him, which, they're all good players as well. But it's good for him
And
to be
they've
learning
sent
off them too.
yeah, they've sent Aaron Connolly out on loan as well, of course, another Irish
Yeah.
involvement. But at 17, it's phenomenal to think that he's already on the bench. He's got some game time in the FA Cup, and he probably will get some game time. And as you said, I saw you got a bit of a slagging for claiming the assist. Well, it might have been, he'd take it all the time. It might have been a heavy touch, but certainly it was an
But
assist.
if he doesn't, so Gary, if he doesn't, I know you weren't saying this, but if he doesn't touch that ball, it's not a goal. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
kind of,
I mean, it went down as an assist. Yeah, it did go down as an assist. And look, it's great for him at 17 to be on the pitch in an FA Cup time. And people remember he was playing at 14 for Bohemians, in the League of Ireland, which was, I think, was up in the Brandywell was his debut. And that's absolutely phenomenal, to be playing at that age, men's football. And he looks a real talent. And they played against Chelsea as well, if I remember right, for both.
Yeah.
And
I think he set up a goal. I think he did a dummy in that game. Does that count as assist? For your, I think it was Eric Malloy scored the goal for Bowes in that game. He was involved in the goal either way.
Okay. But at 17 to be on the bench for Brighton and to be actually getting some game time is great to see, and hopefully he'll make his Premier League debut in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, Graham Potter seems to be a fan of his as well. He came out and spoke very highly of him, which he didn't really need to do. He was asked about him and spoke quite highly of him. Said he's impressing him all the time in training and stuff like that. And then Evan did an interview himself and actually came out and praised Shane Duffy. It seems he seems to be great for all the younger lads coming through at Brighton. And he said that all the rest of the lads, all the strikers, have been very helpful to him coming through. The likes of Maupay and all, when he's been doing stuff well, they've been letting him know, and when he's been doing stuff maybe not as well, they've been trying to help him get better in that way as well, which is good, because when some young players come through and some older players that don't seem to like it sometimes, they can be, I wouldn't say not nice, but not very pleasant in kind of blocking the pathway for the younger players. So it's great to see that they seem to be quite sound to him in many senses, and want to actually see him do well and succeed, because I think if he succeeds, Brighton will succeed then as well, because I think that's what they're crying out for, someone to put the ball in the net. So it could be exciting for both Brighton and Ireland. And look, if he does get a Premier League debut in the next couple of weeks, and maybe he scores, he wasn't lucky with one chance that he did put in the net, but didn't seem overall by the occasion. I think if he does get an opportunity and he maybe scores one or two in the lead up to the games in March, there is the slight possibility, I wouldn't rule it out with Stephen Kenny, that he may get into the squad for the friendlies. And I know they're not announced yet, but when they are, it will be interesting to see who actually goes into that squad, because we're still kind of looking at some other players as well.
Yeah, March might, you never know. I wouldn't rule it out either. March might be a little bit too soon, but I certainly wouldn't rule out 2022. And I did see something from a supporters club that it looks like we're going to have 2 home friendlies in March, and we obviously know the Nations League fixtures in June and September. And they're also looking at a home friendly in November before the World Cup. Obviously, we're not in the World Cup, but we'll probably play somebody before the players go off on holidays. And maybe the November friendly could be one that we might get the first look at Evan Ferguson in a green senior shirt. He may stay with the underage squads in the meantime. Some crucial games coming up too for them. I know our 17s or 19s have the elite phases for qualifying for UEFA finals, and the 21s have a crucial game in Sweden at the end of March as well.
Yeah, well, I think you say there about November. You got to look at the Nations League as well. If he finishes the season strongly at Brighton, you just never know. I know we're saying March might be too soon, but by the end of the season, you never know. It's just us. We're just gonna have to wait and see how it plays out. Good ball by Shawder. Came to nothing. But yeah, no. Look. It's just exciting to be talking about young players coming through and getting opportunities. Whereas a couple of seasons ago, oh, goal 1-0. It's just McTominay header, I think.
Yeah. Oh, you're ahead of me then. Yeah, I've just seen it now.
It's a good header, that.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, but I was just saying, if anyone's watching or joining us that's actually or not watching the game, it's 1-0 Man United in the 7th minute. It's going into the 8th minute now. But McTominay scored a header from, I think it was a Luke Shaw cross. I'll tell you in a second. Is it either Luke Shaw or Bruno Fernandes? I can't remember. I was in the middle of talking about Irish players, so I just can't read. I'm waiting for the replay here. 1 sec.
Yeah, it was a good header from McTominay anyway. Wouldn't have thought he scored too many with his head.
No, I think it was Fred actually delivered the ball. Great ball.
Okay.
Yeah, so it wasn't Bruno Fernandes or Luke Shaw at all. Just great ball, great header. Yeah, 1-0. But I was just saying, isn't it great to be able to talk about Irish youngsters coming through and making an impact, and actually being excited about players coming through, because not that long ago, before probably Stephen Kenny, we were kind of clutching at straws and worrying where the next batch of players will come through, and now we just seem to have player after player coming through, which is great, and there's still have players there that probably haven't been given an opportunity yet, that may still, like, there's players like Anthony Scully, there's players like Gavin Kilkenny, who probably haven't been given an opportunity yet, but I'm sure their time will come soon enough, if they keep up the form that they have.
A few more that impressed actually at the weekend. I believe Danny McNamara had a superb game for Millwall, and I know Jimmy Dunn at QPR, and Darragh Lenihan is playing fantastic football with Blackburn in recent weeks. And if you're looking for bolters for the March squad, I think Darragh Lenihan has definitely got to be worth a look. I know we're probably blessed to have so many good defenders, and I suppose part of the reason we're getting so excited over Evan Ferguson is that we are probably still looking for some attacking talent, but it's still great to see them do so well.
Yeah, well, I think, like, even when I was over doing the interview with Matt Doherty, like, we were talking about the younger players, and he was talking about Andrew and Gavin, and he was actually saying how good Bazunu was. He was like, oh, he's unbelievable. And then we started talking about, I think it was Omar Bambadeli, he was like, yeah, but we need strikers. We need goal scorers.
Yeah.
And he's dead. Nearly a goal there for Aston Villa. Bad miss. I think it was Ollie Watkins. Yeah. But he was saying we need strikers. It's like we're having all these players all over the pitch, which is great to see, but we're not producing strikers or goal scorers. They don't have to be like regular goal scorers. Callum Robinson's doing quite a good job at the minute, but someone who could come in like Callum Robinson and just score a few every now and again, that you can kind of look at and go, okay, he's going to be a thorn in the side of opposition teams, and also he's going to be a player that scares oppositions. Like, we've gone so long as an Irish team where people go, oh, they're going to be hard to break down, but no one's fearful of our attacking players. I think Robinson's brought a bit of that, and the more of that, the better with the Irish squad at the moment, because we just, when you see someone like a Shane Long or a James Collins at this stage, I'm sure that players at international level are just rubbing their hands, going, right, grand. And I know Shane Long has been a thorn in the side for a lot of teams over the years, but he's not the same Shane Long he was 5-6 years ago, and even saying it at that stage, he was still aging a bit. Like, he'll work hard and stuff like that, but I know he's scored against Swansea or whatever the other day, but for international football, it's the elite from your nation against the elite from their nation, and I just don't think Shane Long's elite anymore. Not to criticise him, he's a great servant for the national team and stuff like that, but we do, as I said, and Matt Doherty said, we do need to start producing more strikers. And it's not easy, like, most teams do struggle. Like, England have about 3 out-and-out goal scorers. Harry Kane, Calvert-Lewin, who would be the other one? Maybe
Patrick Bamford, anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. I tell you, prolific, like,
He was prolific last season, not so much this season. We definitely take him, I
We
mean, then
take him. I wouldn't want
Jamie
him now,
Vardy, who
but yeah.
retired as well, you know.
Yeah, so
So,
they've got, but look
yeah.
at the country and look at the amount of players that they produce, and it's still over the years historically we've never really had that great of goal scorers. I mean, Niall Quinn and Aldridge, they still didn't hit more than what was it 20, 22 goals. So even at
Well, I
that,
mean, we've Robbie Keane, who scored 68 goals, who was
I
absolutely
know him,
phenomenal, and we
but other than
seriously
him,
miss him. Yeah, well, I think second is what is it, 20 goals, 21? I'd have
Quinn
to
I
look at
think
it again. Yeah, yeah. Well, Niall Quinn is definitely second because Robbie
21 I
broke his
think it
record, but
is.
I think it's 21. Yeah,
I was
and
there when Quinn
we
broke the record. I was only a little boy.
so yeah, Cyprus, wasn't it? Yeah, I
I
think
think
at
so.
home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was around the kind of 01, 02, around that kind of era.
it was the qualifiers for the '02 World Cup, so it would have
Yeah,
been October '01.
yeah.
Pretty sure it was the Cyprus home game. And I think Niall even said it at the time that he wouldn't hold it for very long, and he was talking about Robbie, obviously.
Yeah, but Robbie speaks so highly about Quinn, about what a player he was to just play up front with. Like,
Yeah,
his knockdowns were like passes. He said, he said it on Gary Neville's Soccer Works. Don't know if you've ever watched that. It's a very good episode.
well, if you go forward to talking about October '01 when Quinn broke the record, Niall Quinn knocked one down for Robbie in Ibaraki against Germany in the 92nd minute to clinch an absolutely crucial draw that ultimately put us into the next round of the World Cup.
You were
And
there for that, weren't you?
I was, of course, yeah. So great night, and yeah, it's hard to believe it's 20 years since we last played in a World Cup now, and it could be a long time before we play in another one.
Yeah, well, you'd be. Yeah, I think you're right in that sense, but I do think there is reasons to be optimistic. There's something about this Irish side at the moment that excites me. There's a real togetherness about this team where I think in recent years maybe the quality hasn't matched maybe the. I know that the team have been galvanized, but maybe the quality wasn't there. Whereas I think the quality is there now and is coming through. Um, so I would hope that we could get to the Euros. That would be something that I think we should be
Yeah,
targeting now from the next campaign, and just go from there. But yeah, a World Cup would be absolutely amazing. We know how much it brings our country together when we're at tournaments anyway, and to be on the world stage at the World Cup. You know, I wasn't really into football at the time when we were in 1990 and 88. 88 I wasn't born, and 1990 I was just born. 94 I was 4, but
you're too young. Yeah,
2002 that was the be all and end all. All those players are my favorite players. So that could start. Like, I started watching football from the 1998 World Cup. So for most kids, they start watching football at a World Cup, I would say, or maybe a Euros, or that's generally the way most people I know. It kind of starts from those kind of tournaments, and if we got to a World Cup, I just think that it'd be amazing one. But if we could do well in it as well, like I speak about '02, and you were obviously at the other ones where Italia '90, that must have been amazing. 94 as well in the USA, that must have been amazing as well. But these trips and memories that will last forever. Just imagine us getting to a World Cup. And I like this side as well. There's no mad egos in this team as well. So I'm excited for the future. We've got really good goalkeepers, really good defenders. Midfielders are starting to come through now. If we could just maybe get a striker, it fills me with a lot of positivity.
yeah.
I know I've
Now,
gone on a bit there.
you mentioned the Euros. Definitely, the Euros are a lot easier to qualify now. I'd be very confident we'd have a great chance of qualifying for Euro 2024. I mean, there's 24 teams. And in fact, it seems like for Euro 2028, which we may want to talk about that because we were talking about hosting it, there'll be 32 teams, which would make it harder not to qualify than to actually qualify. But there's only 13 UEFA European teams in the World Cup this year. It will go up to 16 in 2026, which will make it a little bit easier. But it's still very difficult to get into the top 16 in Europe. And You probably need a good generation of players coming together, and then a bit of luck as well. I mean, look at Wales; they haven't been to a World Cup since 1958. Scotland haven't been to one since '98. Northern
Yeah.
Ireland haven't been since '86, and so we're actually the most recent. Although I do think I actually fancy Wales, but I do think one of Wales or Scotland will actually get there this year. But yeah, it's very difficult, and you need a bit of luck. Now I know we came very close in 2017 in the playoff against Denmark, drawn 0-0 away, going a goal up at home, and then it all fell apart. But it just shows how difficult it is to make a World Cup, and I think it is another level up from the Euros. I've really
Yeah,
enjoyed it. It was
definitely.
fantastic, particularly with France. It was great to actually get out of the group as well. But the World Cup, the whole world is watching. And for me, it's actually bigger than the Olympics. It's the biggest sporting tournament in the world. And I know the country, I've never actually been here for a World Cup match because I've always been at them. But I know the country is absolutely stopped completely. Everything just stops and nothing happens. The buses don't run, nothing. And everybody's watching the games. So it would be really amazing to get that back, because we probably haven't been there for Irish football for quite a while now.
Yeah, it's just when you said there about like even the last two tournaments we were at. I was actually abroad, living abroad. I was in Australia when we were at 2012, and then in 2016 I was living in Canada, but I was in Thailand when the Euros were on. So yeah, the country, and even there in those places, it was mental. Not even in
Yeah.
where we live. But yeah, no, look, it is something that we need to strive to obviously get to. But if you look at that 01-02 campaign, especially the bigger games, Roy Keane dragged us a lot of the way to that World Cup, in
He
my
did.
opinion.
And I mean, in particular, his performance against Portugal and Lansdowne Road. I mean, people, I think, mistakenly talk about the Holland game. Other players did show up for the Holland game, but Portugal, it felt like he was playing them on his own. And that was a crucial draw. And I mean, don't forget, we were drawn against Portugal and Holland with one to qualify and one to make the playoffs. So it was some phenomenal achievement to actually make the playoffs and to knock Holland out of that World Cup. And yeah, Roy Keane was superb. But look, we had a lot of other talented players. Robbie Keane, he was on fire. Damien Duff. In the tournament itself, Gary Breen played out of his skin. He was unbelievable in Japan and Korea.
So
And
much so that Inter Milan tried to sign him, and I think he failed the medical.
yeah, so Steve Staunton was still, he played as a central defender, the only Irishman to play in 3 World Cups. And I think, unfortunately, that record he's going to hold for a long, long time, possibly forever. And
Shay Given.
look, Shea Given, of course, yeah.
Yeah,
And
we had good. Yeah, we had we had Steve Finnan as well. Gary Kelly,
yeah,
Ian Hart.
Jason McAteer, Ian Hart, yeah.
Yeah, we had really good
And
players back then. Matt Holland, Mark Kinsler.
Mark Kinsella
They
as
were all
well.
good Premier League pedigree players. Very good players.
And another thing to remember is every World Cup we have performed, we've always got out of our group. We actually hold that World Cup record in that the most appearances in a FIFA World Cup, and always getting out of our group with 3. Nobody has played in more World Cups and always got out of the group. Obviously, plenty of countries have played in World Cups and everything, but at one point or another, they've always failed to pass the group stages, whereas we've never done that. And I don't know if you know the country with the opposite record, which is most appearances in a World Cup and never getting out of the group.
Northern Ireland.
No, well, Northern Ireland have famously got out of the group in 58 and 82. It's actually another neighbour of ours, Scotland, who I think it's something, and Scotland have never done it in any major tournament. I think it's 8 World Cups they've been to, and always flopped at the group stages. And in the Euros, they've never got out of the group as well. So I suppose most Scottish fans would take that now if they thought they could get to Qatar and even get 3 and done in the group stages. But yeah, so that's a record, a World Cup record we share with Scotland. We're probably the ones that would be talking more about it than they would.
Yeah. I don't think they like that record now. But I think they'll be at the next one though, because they look really good at the minute, and that's who we should be trying to emulate. I think I've said it to you before. I used to sit there almost arrogantly and looking at the other nations around us, other than England, Northern Ireland, Scotland, and Wales, and going, "Ha, we'll never be like them." I don't know. I just always felt like we were better than them, and then at one stage we were worse than the whole lot of them, even Northern
Yeah,
Ireland. Not that long ago, I would say, because we couldn't even beat them at home. We were lucky. If Darren
we
Randolph
were
wasn't in goal that night, we would have
we were
lost that
very
game.
lucky that we were outplayed that night. That was, well, 2018 was just an awful year,
Yeah, the
and
back end of it.
yeah,
Yeah,
well, all of it football wise, it. Okay, we beat USA. I think that was our only win, wasn't it?
yeah.
And
I think Alan Judge's goal was like our only goal. Well, that and Graham Burke.
yeah, so. But yeah, I'm not so sure about Scotland qualifying for this one. I really fancy Wales. They have a really good side. I think they're probably a bit better than Scotland at the moment. And they do have the big advantage of having two home ties. So they won't need to leave the Cardiff City Stadium. Scotland home to Ukraine is a bit of a toss of a coin. I think Ukraine might be slightly better, but a full Hampden and with such noise and everything might just swing it in Scotland's favour. But Wales v Scotland in Cardiff, there's a lot of history there as well. I mean, and it's not good from Welsh point of view. 1977, they played off effectively for a World Cup spot, and Wales moved the game to Anfield to cash in. And well, they were beaten by a handball by Joe Jordan. It was a terrible refereeing decision as well. But Scotland qualified for Argentina. Fast forward to 1985, they did play it in Cardiff, and Wales were winning 1-0 quite late in the game. I think it was Davy Cooper scored with a penalty to get the draw that Scotland needed. And so Wales are waiting since 1958. It's a hell of a long time. There's probably very few Welsh people alive who can remember who were at the World Cup in Sweden at that point, and they're long overdue another visit. And of course, what an opportunity for Gareth Bale as well. Uh, Probably certainly his last chance to go to a World Cup. And I think that's definitely going to be his sole focus for 2022. So it's very tough and close to call. But if I was to try and put my money on that playoff, I'd fancy Wales just about to come out of that one.
And do you know what the story is with Bale? Has he been playing with Real Madrid, or what's the story? 'Cause I know he got on well with Carlo Ancelotti. I just haven't watched Real Madrid at all,
I
and
I
I
don't
look at
think
the players like
he's had much game time. I think he's had injuries as well. I haven't followed it too closely,
yeah,
but his contract is up in the summer as well. But I think a lot might depend on what happens in March, because if Wales qualify for the World Cup, I'm sure he's going to be fit and raring to go in March. And if Wales qualify, I think look out, because he's going to be busting a gut to make sure he's fit and healthy for Qatar. And yeah, it's going to be something else. Wales Scotland, what a game to go to as a neutral. If it works
yeah,
out like that, I know they both have to win tough games because there's no easy games in these playoffs. But it would be some game with a World Cup spot at stake. And of course, the same night you'll probably end up with Portugal, Italy, more than likely in Lisbon as well, with a World Cup spot at stake. Although I'm not ruling Turkey out of that playoff yet either.
yeah. Sorry, just great bit of play there on the edge of the box by Ollie Watkins and Buendia. De Gea made a good save. Feel like getting back into this game slowly but surely, but Man United are doing well. De Gea looks back to his best as well. In
He's
terms of
been
saves.
he's been playing very well lately. Yeah, he's absolute. Even when Man United were on a bit of a slump, and I know they have got better on in recent weeks, apart from the Wolves game, but he's been absolutely superb this season. Maybe back in the early days of COVID, there was kind of talk that he was past his best and everything, but he's a
De Gea.
top keeper. So he's a top keeper at the moment, and
Oh, you're on the counter here. Sorry, just as you say.
sure, you're
Fernandez
ahead of
is
me now, so you're going to tell me what happens.
he slips it into Cavani. Great save, Martinez. He's another good goalkeeper as well.
He is actually a fine keeper. And I know Arsenal have signed Aaron Ramsdale, but I wonder will they regret letting Martinez go, because he seemed to me to be an excellent keeper.
The weirdest thing is he was there for years, never played. Came in, played well. Think he helped them win the FA Cup, and then the next minute he was sold to Villa. And
Yeah.
Leno just like Paul Tierney would be able to speak about it better than me because he's an Arsenal fan. But I thought Leno was a decent enough keeper, and he seemed to keep Martinez out of the team for long enough. But he has that good season. He wins the FA Cup. He's Argentina's number one. He helps them win the Copa America in the summer just gone. So he's really in the form of his career right now, and he's in his 30s. Like,
And
it's mad.
there's actually rumours, by the way, that Darren Randolph, I was just watching Sky this evening, and there's talk of Darren Randolph going to Villa. So
What?
he's third choice at West Ham. So he'd go to Villa as reserve keeper. And I can't think of the name of the reserve keeper at the moment, but that he'd go out on loan to get some game time. And
Is
then
that
if Darren Randolph...
Nielsen or something like Neeland?
I can't remember. I can't remember who it is now. And I'm sure someone will put it up in the comments. But so that Darren Randolph would be on the bench. So he might get some game. Look, I think the way it's gone for the national team, it'll be Gavin Bazunu, Caoimhín Kelleher and Mark Travers, in that we have three very good young goalkeepers. So I think that's probably the way it's going to be. But it might be nice for Darren Randolph still to get some game time and maybe to be available in case of emergencies.
I think. Oh, Watkins, he has the pace on Lindelof here. He cuts inside. Oh, he's at the crossbar. Oh, that looked like it was easier to score. He done so well to get into that position, and hits the crossbar. He absolutely put Lindelof on toast there.
Yeah.
Skinned him. I was just looking up Aston Villa's website here just to get their squad, just to see who that other goalkeeper is that you're talking about. I think that's mad if he goes to Villa. Of all, like, it's just a bit strange, in my opinion. Yeah, Lindelof has a howler here.
Yeah.
He tries to take the ball down. He didn't have him for pace. Sorry, Lindelof just had a mistake. It's just when I had my head up, I just seen Watkins outpacing him.
Yeah, he was unlucky. Watkins was a good effort, you know.
Jed Steer, and there's a Finnish goalkeeper called Sinisalo.
I think when you say Jed Steer, I think it's Jed Steer they said would go out on loan then to get some game time, you know.
The only thing is, like, Darren's going to be hungry to get his place back. He missed like one international camp, and all of a sudden he was forgotten about. And I know he wasn't playing and everything like that, but I know he'll want to get himself back in at least the frame to be back in that Ireland squad some way. Like, look, if anything happens to any of the three keepers, we know Darren will most likely be called up. But it is a case of, for him, you can see how annoyed he'd be. Like, he hasn't obviously publicly come out and say he's annoyed or anything like that, but he's a footballer. They have egos, and also, you know, he's competitive. Now, people might argue that because the way he went.
No, I don't know, Paul, in this case. I don't know with Darren. But what I would say is that goalkeepers get to a certain age, and I'm talking about maybe the mid-30s, and clubs do want an experienced keeper as a number two. And some keepers decide that's what they're going to be. I'm thinking of Rob Green in particular. But I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of other examples. And keepers can be happy. Schwarzer, exactly. And I mean, he won league and everything. And guys can just be happy to be the number two and to be available if needs be, to be called up, because it's good to have a keeper like that on the bench. But now, I don't know if that's what Darren
like
wants.
Begovic at Everton now, yeah.
Yeah. And
I hear what you're saying, but I don't think he wants to do that, because I know he still wants to be the Ireland number one. I appreciate that you have to be playing to be in consideration. But I think what should happen, and didn't mean to cut you off there, by the way, we'll come back to what you were going to say. I just want to finish on this and I'll come straight back to you, is that if he doesn't get back into the team, there should be a case where we have a friendly and he gets maybe not a testimonial, but a game similar to the way John O'Shea got.
Yeah,
and
just
he's
to say
allowed to say goodbye to
yeah.
the fans. I think that's, for what a servant he's been to the national team, I think that he deserves that. at the, I think, for the very least, I think he deserves that. No, sorry, you were going to say
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, no, I mean, but this was only speculation on Sky Sports. It was on the transfer show. So I always kind of perk up when they mention one of the Irish players. Um,
Cool.
if he's going to Villa, and maybe he won't, if he's going to Villa, he's not going as number one. So I think if he wants to get back in the national squad or in the national team, I think he has to be playing regularly. And I think then he would have to be looking at maybe a championship club and going back as number one. But I kind of got the feeling maybe when he went to West Ham, he saw he could challenge and become the number one. But that hasn't worked out like that. And he's now the number three at West Ham. So if he goes to Villa, I think it's definitely as a number two. There's no way he's going to unseat Martinez. And but so I think that this will tell what actually happens in this window, because it's interesting to hear that he was being talked about as being on the move, and be interesting to see what happens.
Well, Stephen Kenny did say at the end of the last transfer window, the only reason I think he wasn't called in, well, I think did some keeper come in ahead of him? I think some keeper. It wasn't.
James
Was
Talbot
Travers?
came in. James
That's the
Talbot
one.
came
Yeah,
in.
sorry. Yeah. So Talbot came in just because Darren was actually trying to get a move, and I think he was going to that club. He was traveling to that club to get the move, and that's the only reason it didn't. For whatever reason, it didn't happen in time. So that's the only reason he wasn't called into the camp. And obviously, then at that stage, Talbot was already in, and they had to kind of make a decision. So it seems as though he is the next available goalkeeper. Just at that time, it didn't work out because Ariola came in obviously to West Ham as well. And as you say, Darren obviously went there originally thinking, okay, if anything happens to Fabianski, I'll be next in command, like Begovic, like we spoke about, and other goalkeepers. I just think with Martinez there, he might be even a little bit younger than Randolph, but I still think he could play every game. Like, he's that type of goalkeeper. Do you know what I mean? He's a great physique. He's not since he's came through at Arsenal, I don't really. Every time I watch Villa now, I don't think I've ever seen him not in goal. You know what I mean? So he seems very consistent.
I might be getting ahead of myself, but they are a goal down at Old Trafford, so they could well, if they went out of the cup tonight, there wouldn't be a lot of opportunities for a backup keeper unless Martinez got injured.
Yeah,
I know there's a long time to go in this game, of course, but an hour left effectively, So, yeah.
Yeah. Jesus, I forgot Danny Ings actually went to Villa. He's just been so quiet since he's gone there. But
he's
look,
Yes.
just as I said it when I just saw him there on the replay. But no, I just think Villa would be a poor move. It'd be it'd be a good move for him to kind of go, and I think Villa's a huge club, and maybe to learn off Steven Gerrard or just play under Steven Gerrard might be a thing that he'd love to do. But I just think go somewhere where you're going to be guaranteed number one, even if it's championship. Just play number one, because you're still playing at a higher level than all the other goalkeepers. Maybe bar Mark Travers. I know, look, you can say that about Kelleher, but he's only playing once, and every so often, every time Alisson's injured, he's not consecutively, playing. Otherwise, I would say he absolutely is playing at the highest level, week in, week out. But again, like Shay Given said, he needs maybe to look at what he's doing in his career. Does he stay at Liverpool? I know we spoke about this a few weeks ago. Does he stay at Liverpool another season? Personally, I think he should go next year. I think Liverpool could get someone like a Randolph in. They have Adrian, but get someone else in as well. And Kelleher, just go somewhere where you're going to be number one. Whether that's a loan for a season, you're 23. Shay Given made a good point. Bazunu, I almost call him Gazunu. Bazunu's gone and played the last 2 seasons. He's played at Rovers as well. And he played at Rochdale, and now he's playing at Ports. But he's 50 senior appearances under his belt. I think Kelleher, from what Shay Given said yesterday, 10 or 11. So I'd be inclined to agree with him that despite everything he's learning at Liverpool at the moment, I think he's been there and he's learned probably everything he's going to learn in terms of the in-match build-up, and he's involved in all that, and he has been for a number of years as well, because when I was over in Liverpool speaking with Redmen TV, we spoke about him, and they were saying how he's getting all this kind of experience being in there with the match day and the Champions League and everything. He was there when they won the Champions League. He's been there on the big nights. He was there when they won the league. So, He has got all that experience, but I just don't think. Allison's in the prime of his good block there by Matty Cash, I think it was. Allison's in the prime of his career. I know he got COVID at the minute, but once he's fully fit, he's back in that team, and Kelleher straight away out. So I just think next season it's going to be make or break for him.
Yeah, it's a tough one because he is.
It is a tough one. It is.
He's number two to one of the top keepers in the world, and obviously at Liverpool he'd have the best top coaches, etc. So he's in an ultra professional environment, one of the elite clubs in the world. So it's very hard to go away from that. But as you say, he needs to play regularly, and at 22, 23, yeah, he maybe a season on loan would be the thing. And I mean, I would hope if he was going on loan, it would be to a Premier League side, and he'd be starting every week in the Premier League at this point, because certainly when he's been called upon for Liverpool, he's been absolutely excellent. And he played in the Chelsea game, played in the cup at the weekend. You certainly couldn't fault him for the goal, and played against Chelsea, and he was superb. And again, you couldn't fault him for either of the two Chelsea goals. So yeah, it is a tough one. But yeah, if he was to play every week in the Premier League or maybe abroad in one of the top leagues, then yes, maybe for a season. But I'd imagine if Liverpool were going to, okay, I suppose Alisson is going to be number one at Liverpool for many years to come. But if Liverpool were looking at selling him, they'd want serious money for Queeving.
Yeah, well, I think so. He signed a new 5-year contract as well, so he wouldn't go cheap. But I think I said this. It was actually the Irish Abroad show with Ger and Paul. Is that I'd like to see how Kelleher would cope going somewhere, being the number one, the one that's depended on, and just let him make the mistakes that he's maybe going to make. You know, Alisson makes mistakes a lot of the time, but a lot of times he saves Liverpool. You know what I mean? So that's the only reason why I'd like to see him just go and go somewhere where it's not as cozy. Maybe I think Liverpool's a little bit cozy for him, and he's worked really hard to get into the position that he's
I
in.
don't know if it's cozy, Paul. I mean, he was playing at Stamford Bridge, second against third in the Premier League, only just over a week ago. You know, and he's been playing in the Champions League for Liverpool, playing in the FA Cup. It's not cozy being number two at Liverpool. You are certainly being challenged. I suppose the only thing is maybe he does need to play week in, week out, so that might be good. But it's anything but cozy being number two at Liverpool. You really have to be on your toes, and when you're called upon, and when he has been called upon, he's certainly delivered. And for Liverpool fans, I'm sure it's superb having two such great goalkeepers, and we're blessed one of them is Irish.
Yeah, now it's going to be a big summer this year for the two lads, because if you're looking at the team right now, you'd say Bazuna's number one, Kelleher's number two, and Travers is number three. I think, with Bazuna going back to City, does he go out on loan one more time? Does he make that move? If Bazuna's not playing regularly next season and Kelleher is, does Kelleher then become the number one? So it'll be an interesting summer from that point of view, I think. Not to look too far ahead. But then again, you could look at stuff like the Nations League in the summer and stuff like that, where people might go, it's a chance for players like Bazunu to put himself in the window. If he's not going to be played by City and maybe do what Kelleher's done at Liverpool, does he go to a Premier League club? Because he's kind of, I know he's in League One at the moment, but I think he could bypass League One at the minute, and I think he could go into a Premier League or bypass the Championship. Sorry, and I think he could play Premier League next season. I think he's shown it at international level. David Salter, we will come to your comment now in a second. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, look, potentially you could have Mark Travers back in the Premier League as a number one next season as well, because Bournemouth are flying high in the Championship. Yeah, I'd like to see Gavin Bazunu in the Premier League. He's playing incredibly well for Portsmouth in League One. It doesn't look like Portsmouth might sneak up in the playoffs, but it doesn't look like they're going to be, certainly not going to go up with automatic promotion in the Championship. And so he probably maybe move on again in the summer. I don't think he's going back to City. There's no way he's going to usurp Edison at this point. maybe not even go back as number 2 in City, so possibly go out somewhere else on loan. Maybe go to the continent. I wouldn't rule out some of these keepers going to, I don't know, the Dutch league, the Belgian league. Look how well Josh Cullen is doing in Belgium. Maybe even France, Italy, wherever, City have relations with a lot of clubs around the world as well. So could be a good opportunity for him. But I'd like to see him certainly play at as high a level as possible. I think Gavin Bazunu is still our number 1. He has been absolutely superb since he's taken over, and he has the shirt. And unless he gets injured or something, I don't see him giving it up unless there's a loss of form or something like that. But I would imagine Gavin Bazunu got his chance. He took his chance, and I think the shirt is his for him to lose now.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that. I'm just going to go through a couple of the comments. There's not too many comments, so there's not too many people on. There's only 8 people online at the moment. He's David Salter, your mate Gary. He says, "How are you, lads?
Yeah.
Did you happen to see Al Foran? Did you happen to see Al Foran's Ralph Ragnick impression earlier? Coaching with dummies and kids stories. Good to see a watch along. These were great over lockdown." And he has another comment. He says, "Speaking of regular football for Kelleher, I can't believe Ida has had more football for Ireland than his club this season. It gets to a point where these guys may regress." Discuss, Gary.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Adam Ida needs more game time. He's gotten maybe a little bit more under Dean Smith. I think you see, you can play the statistics any way you want. He's been involved in something like 70 or 80% of the games under Dean Smith. Most of them were just for a few minutes. And I think at this stage of his age and development, he needs to be playing regularly. And coming off the bench with 10 minutes to go, really, it's not going to do it, And I think it's a good point. He has had more minutes for the national team than for Norwich, probably. And yeah, I mean, it looks like Norwich are nailed on to go down. But I remember saying the last time Norwich were going down that he would get more game time in the Championship, and it didn't really work out like that. Now, I know there was injuries and everything as well, but he's probably not in a position where he's showing enough to be a regular starter for Norwich unless there's injuries or something like that. But he definitely needs more game time. The problem is he probably is their go-to man off the bench, so he's probably not going to go out on loan, because obviously Norwich are still going to feel they can stay up. I don't think they can. I don't think they're good enough. But so it's a bit of a tricky one that he's on the bench. He gets these 10 or 15 minutes here and there, but not enough for his development. And yeah, I agree with David. It was great to meet David. I met David outside one of the under-21 games at Tala last year, which was great to see.
Yeah, top man David. He's always in the comments for our watch-alongs, and always adds something to the watch-alongs as well, which I think is important. That we love when people get involved and actually give us things to talk about, because then it just keeps the things flowing. If anyone is just joining us, though, it is 1-0 to Man United, and we're just coming up to half time here now. There's 3 minutes added on, and there's been chances for both
Gerrard
sides.
He doesn't look too happy, although I think Villa are playing quite well, So
here's a good comment from Gary Monaghan. He says, "See McGrath going to England in the summer. I heard he was going sooner. I heard he was going in January to a club in the Championship. But look, if he goes in the summer, so be it. I think he's been unlucky with injuries, and I think there was obviously the COVID going around with St. Mirren, and I think he may have got that, or he was in and around there anyway. So I'd say he's probably recovering at the moment, if that is the case. Hasn't been confirmed or denied, but I think if he could get himself fit and get on the move this January, I think any club who gets him would really reap the rewards from signing him. I just think he's a really clever, underrated player who just kind of goes under the radar and still delivers. I think he's a class player. I really do. You saw that.
Yeah, he's played.
The Portugal
he's played
game
really well for us. Yeah, he's done really well since he came in, and he was meant to be going on the move last August. I think he was meant to be going to Middlesbrough, I'd read, but whatever happened, it fell through. Yeah, it fell through at the last minute. And yeah, I mean, obviously the Scottish Premier League is shut down at the moment. So, but as you say, St Mirren were absolutely devastated by COVID just over the Christmas period. And they had a load of kids and all out. And they actually pulled off an incredible draw with
Oh, great
Celtic.
save. Great
Uh,
goal line block. Sorry, yeah, you were saying about Celtic. It was just a great
Yeah,
goal
it's
line clearance.
just before Christmas, St Mirren played out of their skins and held Celtic to a draw. They were missing loads of players, and I think one of the jokes was Tom Rogic was booked for telling one of the St Mirren players that Santa wasn't real, but the team was so young. But it was, and but with all due respect to St Mirren, and they are a fantastic club, and Jim Goodwin is doing an incredible job there, and there's a fantastic Irish community there. Uh, for the sake of our national team, I'd certainly like to see Jamie move to at least a championship club. Um, really, if you're going to be playing in Scotland, you got to be playing with one of the big two, or else at least move to the championship, if not the Premier League. And I think he's certainly good enough. It looks like it's half time there and 1-0 to United.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'd like to see him go and play regularly. But St Mirren are doing incredibly well, and as I said, hats off to Jim Goodwin.
Yeah, but I think as well, with Jamie McGrath, I think what he's done is he's shown a lot of other Irish players that there is a pathway there to go to Scotland, maybe not to the biggest team, do well, and bide your time, and you could just get lucky with maybe a couple of injuries here and there, or if you're just playing that good, that you leave the manager no choice but to pick you. And that's what McGrath did with Stephen Kenny. Now, obviously, Stephen Kenny brought him to Dundalk. He knew what type of player he was and stuff like that. But once he came in, I think he said in a press conference as well, Jamie McGrath, he was like, Kenny had told him, you're not just coming in to make up the numbers, you're coming in to play. And I think that really stood to him then. I brought up again the Portugal game, the game against Qatar where we wore the blue jersey. McGrath was brilliant in that game as well.
Yeah.
I think he had a hand in one of the goals as well. If I'm right, oh no, he won a penalty, didn't he? For Callum Robinson, that's right.
Yeah, look, he's been superb. I mean, probably some of it was, I mean, that Stephen knew him and liked him and knew what he could do. But certainly, since he's got his chance, he has taken it with both hands, and there's no question he deserves to be in the squad and probably in the starting 11 as well. But I would like to see him play at a higher level than St Mirren, and that's no
Definitely.
disrespect to St Mirren.
Yeah, no, like I think anybody would, being realistic, I think even the most biased St Mirren fan would be like, international football. I wouldn't imagine there's too many Scottish players playing for St Mirren that would even get into the team. Like, you know what I mean?
I don't think there's any. Yeah, there's none.
Yeah, so that kind of shows you, and that even how good they were doing last year. But that was with a good Irish contingent there. But look, it's not to say he won't be on the move. It looks as though he's gonna be on the move regardless. I think he's repaid the faith shown him by St Mirren with the goals and everything like that. They obviously got to the cup final last year as well. So, he's done more than enough for the club to be able to say, right, well, I've served my time here and I'm going to go and get my move. And I think St Mirren fans would wish him well. I don't see why they wouldn't, but, like, you just never know, football fans. But
I think
he's a very likeable guy, as well.
Yeah, they'd get a good transfer fee for him as well. I'm sure they're used to their better players being sold, and it's probably how a lot of these clubs survive. That they need the transfer fees coming from
like
the
the League of Ireland clubs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any Sligo fan going to begrudge Johnny Kenny going to Celtic. It's a fact of life. He's not going to, if he gets the chance to move to a much bigger club, he's going to take it. And Sligo get 150 grand, which is fantastic for Sligo Rovers, and it's a win-win all around.
Yeah, exactly. I just think he's a class player. David says in the comments there, he goes, McGrath's set pieces could be key for us. With Howard and Brady not starting the last few games. And let's not forget that, I'll keep that comment up there just anyway. People will get their comments in as well. He did set up Johnny Egan's goal as well with a corner.
Yeah.
So the two games that we can recall, he had an impact in. He obviously won the penalty against Qatar that Callum Robinson scored. Was that the score? His hat trick? I think it was. But yeah, he was very clever in that moment, and he's a very clever footballer. You know, he doesn't have lightning speed, and he doesn't have he doesn't stand out, so to speak. But what he does and what Stephen Kenny sets him up to do, he is effective with, and he obviously scores goals as well. I would have liked to see him taking that penalty if Robinson maybe wasn't on the hat trick. That would have been good, but like obviously we're not going to take it off him at that point. But everything about that night with the blue jersey was just a really good positive night, and that blue jersey, the more I think of it, the more beautiful it is. I love the crest on it, and yeah, that was just a really good night.
Yeah. Robbie Brady, I wouldn't rule him out yet, as well as he's getting back to full fitness. He's at Bournemouth. They said they're riding high in the championship now. He hasn't nailed down a regular spot
there's a Kerry.
yet. But
sorry, there was a Kerry jersey in the replay there.
There's Kerry jerseys everywhere. You know?
It's just it was right. It just caught me eye there. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
There's one at the Masters, I think, every year as well. So I don't know if it's the same guy or not. You know.
Well, I didn't see his face.
Yeah.
This is someone's pretending to be Shane Long in the comments. He says, "I am the GOAT, and I will be called up in March." Good lad, Shane. And he says, "I am greater than Robinson." And Stephen Callahan comes in with a one to get us debating. He says, "Would you rather have prime Roy Keane or prime Robbie Keane in the current Ireland team?" That is a very, very good question. Gary, I'm gonna let you answer because you would have been old enough to appreciate them more than I would have. I suppose because I was growing up at the time, but you would have been an adult at the time when they were kind of at their peak. And I know Roy Keane drove us on to stuff like that, but Robbie did obviously score so many goals. So it's a great question. So I'm gonna.
It is a great question. I mean, Robbie's our greatest ever goal scorer. It's not even in doubt. I mean, 68 international goals, and that's our big hole at the moment. Is a goal scorer, but we've had very, very few world-class players, and I mean, if you're talking about the greatest goal scorers of all time, you wouldn't be including Robbie Keane in that. Whereas if you're talking about the greatest midfielders of all time, you would definitely be including Roy Keane. Now, I know there was all sorts of other issues, and I don't know how we'd get on with Stephen Kenny, etc. But if you had a fit and motivated Roy Keane in his prime, he would walk into any team, and we were so blessed to have him for a good period of that. And I know there's the whole issues of 2002, and I really regret the way that happened. But despite our need, I'd love to have another Robbie Keane. I don't know if we'll ever. I don't think his record will ever be broken either. But if I had to choose, and even though our biggest need at the moment is someone to put the ball in the back of the net, if I had to choose, I'd still say Roy Keane in his prime, because at his best, he was simply world class. And we've had very, very few international players. I mean, I'm going back. Paul McGrath's another player, certainly at his international level. For me, he was world class. Liam Brady, Johnny Giles. You can go back to the likes of Jackie Carey way back, who was good enough to captain the rest of the world in the FIFA match in the 1940s. But it's and captain Manchester United to the FA Cup win as well. But there's not that many players you can talk about in the 100 years of the FAI who were truly world class. Now, Robbie Keane, our greatest ever goal scorer, as I said, but you don't talk about Robbie Keane in the same level that you talk about the great goal scorers. I'm thinking Gerd Muller, I mean Pele. I mean, you can name, if I start naming them, I'm going to just forget so many, but
I know what you mean.
But Roy Keane is up there with, when you're talking about the greatest central midfield players, Roy Keane is certainly up there. So, yeah, a tough one. I'd love to have both, but for me, I'd choose Roy.
Yeah, but see what you said there about Robbie Keane, and he is in the international bracket of those players that you have in terms of the goals. I know you're saying he's not talked about. He's not seen as a truly great world class player, maybe the way Roy Keane was. But in terms of his international record, that was a world class international record, and I know you're not saying that he wasn't. Um, Roy Keane was a level above. He was doing it at his club level. He was dragging United to the Champions League final. He was dragging them to Premier League titles. Whereas Robbie Keane was on the move to loads of kind of clubs that were always just on the brink of being a really good team, but never really, getting over the line. Like
he wasn't playing in the Champions League every year. I mean,
yeah. But he played
that's probably the difference. Oh, he played in very good. He played in good Tottenham teams, in a good Liverpool
Leeds,
team. I know he went to Inter, he went to Leeds, yeah, and obviously Coventry and Wolves as well. But he wasn't playing at the top. Now, look, 68 international goals is a phenomenal achievement, and it's one of the top 5 or 6 European records of all time. But he has played in considerably more matches than some of the other people who would just be behind him in those records as well. So, look, our greatest ever goal scorer without doubt. But I don't think even in the elite level in the English game in recent years, he wouldn't have been up there.
But he still has a really good record in the Premier League as well.
Shearer. I mean, I'm talking about...
I know. Look, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I know you're saying, like, Shearer, even your Harry Kanes, your Agueros, those types of players. And even underneath that, your Andy Coles and your Robbie Fowlers, they're all a level above Robbie. Whereas if you look at the Premier League...
Didier Drogba and all, it's that kind of level.
Van Nistelrooy.
Van Nistelrooy, absolutely. Phenomenal goal scorer, Van Persie
Henry
as well.
Even though we don't like him.
Henry,
but anyway...
Henry was a phenomenal player, I don't...
Yeah.
never forgive him for that, but he was a phenomenal striker.
The best I've ever seen in the Premier League, in my opinion, and I know people might not like that because of the handball or whatever.
I wouldn't go that far now. No, I wouldn't agree with that.
No. But anyway, opinions. But look, back to Roy Keane. He was a player who could win games by himself. You couldn't say that about Robbie Keane. Robbie Keane might score a match winner here and there, but Roy Keane drove teams on to win games. Holland, Portugal, we spoke about earlier on. David said it, I think, in the comment there as well. Like, he won games by himself. And you said it about the Portugal game. And that was a really good Portugal team, let's not forget as well, that you were speaking about. And the Holland team were outrageous as well. And he drove us to a victory in that game against... we had 10 men in that game. And it's just a crying shame that what happened, but what happened in Saipan happened. And it would have just... Could you imagine a fit and motivated Roy Keane going into that World Cup and how well he was playing? And you look at how well we did. We probably should have beaten Spain, in my opinion. I thought we were unbelievable, but we just couldn't score that goal. Damien Duff was unreal that day as well. But we just couldn't get the win against Spain, and we obviously went out in penalties, and it was heartbreaking because there was, and I know Eamon Dunphy always says it, like there was a chance there we could have went on maybe to the final. Maybe we could have beaten, who was it? Was it South Korea? Because they beat Italy. It
was South Korea. Now, the only caveat I would say on that is, I mean, we probably would have beaten that South Korea team 4 or 5-0, but so did Spain, but they couldn't beat the referee, and Italy couldn't beat them. I mean, Trapattoni was absolutely very bitter about that. There was incredibly dodgy refereeing went on in that World Cup.
I remember South Korea. It, yeah.
South Korea should not have beaten Italy, and they should not have beaten. I think Spain has something like 3 perfectly good goals disallowed. So I would caveat at that Spain absolutely outplayed South Korea. And but in theory, we would have had South Korea in a quarter-final. We could have had Germany in a semi-final. And Germany got to the final, but we probably should have beaten them in Ibaraki as well. I know we got the late equaliser, but it's just the highlights I see there. Sorry, I thought it was a goal. And I know we only got a late equaliser, but we actually outplayed Germany for long stretches of that game. Although I suppose, even though they got to a World Cup final, it wasn't a vintage German side from 2002 that they had to rebuild after that. But who knows? And I mean, the only thing I would say about that, the squad came together and galvanised when Roy Keane went home. So had he stayed, would there have been the same togetherness? I don't know. I mean, there may have been other issues. Maybe we'd have gone out in the group stages, but we did knock out Cameroon were the Olympic and African champions at the time, a really, really good side, and we knocked them out. So it was quite an achievement. And it's said to be, I mean, I'm looking back to our last two World Cup appearances. We were bitterly disappointed to lose to Spain on penalties and probably felt we underachieved. In '94, we lost out to the Dutch in the round of 16. And again, it was kind of, we should have beaten them. We should have won that game. And it's still, I mean, it's funny to look back at that, but we were in the top 6 in the world in 1994. We'd actually beaten the Dutch away in a friendly in March. We'd beaten the Germans away in May. We kicked off the World Cup by beating Italy. Yeah, it was a surprise, but it wasn't a major shock. And it's probably a disappointment the way things went after that. And as you said, we certainly could have beaten Spain in 2002. But it's hard to believe it's 20 years since our last World Cup finals match.
Yeah, there's a lot to take in there, but I think the answer to the question is Roy Keane. I think a prime Roy Keane, even though we would need a goal scorer in this team, I still think that Roy Keane would drive us onto victories. Would he get on with Stephen Kenny? God knows, but it's the fantasy, isn't it? Really, so you're kind of thinking that an optimistic Roy Keane came in. But people forget that Roy Keane played under Jack Charlton, was really good as well. You spoke about the Italy game there. I think he played in that, didn't he? So.
Oh yeah, he played in the '94 World Cup. I mean, he did go to a World Cup.
Quality.
He played in the qualifiers for even Euro '92, and so yeah, it's what a player, you know. But yeah, I think the answer is Roy Keane. Unfortunately, we'll never know. I certainly would love to have both of them in the current team in their prime.
Yeah, and Duff as well.
And Damien Duff. So.
He was world class as well, wasn't he? Like, to be fair.
Oh, he was class player. Oh, absolutely. And himself and Robbie played up front as a duo in the 2002 World Cup, even though he normally played as a winger otherwise. But class player, and of course won the Premier League as well. And yeah, he's actually, it'd be very interesting to see how he gets on to Shelbourne as the manager, because he's a real student of the game. And I really hope it works out, because he has the potential to be a really top manager, but it will be interesting to see how he gets on with managing, with all due respects to the Shelbourne players that are vastly inferior to what he was as a player, because he was a top elite player. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how he gets on this season at Tolka.
Well, I think the thing about what he likes to do is he likes to improve players, and he likes to coach young players. And he's done that at Rovers, and he's done that now at Shells, and he's always had Luke Byrne beside him, doing that with him. Like, he brought Luke in and identified him as someone who's a good coach. They were doing it with the underage at Rovers and Shells, as I said, and he seems to have a good young squad there at the moment. So it seems as though that seems to be what he wants to do, is he wants to get them to a level where he can improve them and make them better. And then obviously it's about trying to finish as high up the league as possible, not get relegated. I think you said it before, like Shells will probably be in a really good position with UCD coming up if UCD lose a couple of players like they did this season. The last time they were up, they lost Ferrugia, Scales and O'Neill halfway through the season, and then the season kind of just dipped off completely. I think if that happens again, then they'll be destined to go down, and then, you know, there's a team there for playoffs. Finn Harps could be thereabouts. I know they escaped last year. Drogheda as well. They have to lose a lot of players. So there's a good opportunity.
Finn Harps have lost a lot of players as well. So I'm not even sure UCD would be the favourites to go down. If they can. Now, I know they lost Paul Doyle already to Dundalk, but it looks like they're going to hang on to Liam Kerrigan and Colin Whelan.
That'd be key, obviously.
So UCD, you know, they are a bit suspect at the back, but they'll be phenomenal going forward. And Yeah, I think Shells will be all right this year. I wouldn't expect Shells to go down, but I don't think Damien Duff is going to be happy as a manager of a seventh or eighth place team in the League of Ireland, and
Yeah,
that's
but if
not
you're
what
building
he's
something,
taking the
Gary,
job
I
for.
don't think it's.
Yeah.
I don't think like it's hardly going to turn around and win a
Okay.
cup or win a league next year. Like fans aren't expecting that. Just want to finish as high up as possible in the league, like Drogheda maybe this season, a good, solid, secure, and then build for the year after, and then look to maybe finish in the top four, top three, and a good cup run, and then build on that again. And I think that will be the way forward.
Oh well,
Um,
yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that would be a great season because there are clubs with much bigger budgets and that have kind of serious squads. I mean, Shamrock Rovers obviously as champions. Derry City are going to be very strong. Bows, Pats are recruiting really well. Owen Doyle is a fantastic signing. Dundalk are going to be much better this year. So there's a lot of competition for the top spots.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought we were going to add on to that. I'm just going to run through the comments. Alzi says, "Well, lads, what's the crack? Watching it on BBC. Second half predictions. Gary, I'll come to you for that one.
Yeah, I wouldn't rule out an Aston Villa equaliser, but it looks like probably 1-0 or 2-1 to Man United at this point.
Yeah, I'd like to see Aston Villa score another goal, make it interesting, but I really do not want to go to extra time and stay on this for extra time. It's just the 90 minutes is fine. It's just when it gets to the extra time, it's just that little bit too extra. You get hungry, or you might need to go to the toilet or whatever,
Yeah.
and you kind of feel like you're letting people down when you say, "Ah, I'm not staying on for the full thing." So I hope it's won in 90 minutes. That to tell you the truth. And I'm gonna go for 2-0 Manchester United. Actually, no, I'll go 2-1 because I want to see Villa score next, and then hopefully Steven Gerrard is left with a bit of egg on his face at the end of the game.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Dave.
Liverpool and Rangers is not a good combination for you, Paul. I appreciate that.
No, um, but I like Villa. I do like Villa, and
Yeah,
goal. Just as I say it, goal 1-1.
1-1.
Number 20,
So
Danny Ings.
he's still doing it. So
I did mention him earlier, and I said I almost
you did.
forgot about him.
Yeah.
But there you go. He's made it 1-1. Ball into the box. I don't know who delivered it. It might have been Douglas Luiz. I'll tell you in a sec when the replay comes up. Ball was knocked towards the goal, and Danny Ings just knocks it in from very close range in front of the hair. It's a ball in by McGinn, sorry. And there's a check, but he's not. Yeah, it should be fine. It's a knocked across. Watkins tries to get on it, and then Ings hits it, but De Gea's down holding himself there. Don't know if he got.
It'll be close. The offside will be close, I'd say.
Konza is the one who heads it across.
No, the header across is fine, but yeah. Yeah, he said he was behind. Ooh, was Ings behind him?
Yeah, but I think Bruno Fernandes is his hand up. We'll find out now. There's probably going to be a VAR check, but it's and Steven Gerrard. Oh, he was celebrating. Never mind. They're just doing a check at the moment. It's likely to be 1-1. The refs, Michael Oliver, is checking with VAR to see what is going on. What were we saying just before that goal went in? Oh, we were saying what we wanted the score to be. Oh yeah. So while we're checking
Yeah.
that, David Salter says, I remember Robbie Keane's home debut versus Argentina. He was excellent, and we were all so excited. Ortega's goal that day was world class. It was a little dink, wasn't it? Roy Keane was probably our greatest ever and won games by himself. Yeah, we did say that. Yeah, you'd probably remember that Argentina game better than me.
I do, yeah. It was a 1-0 win for Argentina, if I remember right, 98. I think the kind of April, May time frame, maybe, yeah. And yeah, that was some Argentina team as well. And yeah, it's going to be tight.
They're still checking there if anyone's just joined. It does look like because Watkins. What are they checking for? It's because we can't hear the volume. Does he handle it?
No, I don't think there's a hand. Oh, maybe not a handball. I think it's offside. Possibly when the header offside. And then when Watkins touches it. he
was
might
off
be
his thigh.
offside.
It looks like his hand.
No, it's not handball. It's whether it's offside, but he might have been ahead of Watkins, and he might have been
Still
ahead
checking.
of the is it Konza who headed it. You know.
It's still Ali Watkins is telling the lads to keep the shape. So it's still 1-1. There's
It's
one
obviously
here about.
very, very tight.
He's
You know.
checking it. He's checking it now himself. So while
Oh,
he's doing that, we can just run through. There's going to be a bit of added time at the end of this game. Shane Long says, bit of an odd question, but should Obafemi be called up? So he doesn't. He's already been called up, Shane, if that is your real name. I don't think it is. He did
yeah.
also
No,
say that.
he was tied to us in 2018 when
Yeah,
he played against Denmark in our house. Now I'm just wondering, with the new rule change, can he change his mind again? I'm not sure.
I don't.
Certainly from 2018 he was tied and he couldn't change after playing a competitive match, but they have changed the rules now that you can play, is it 3 games? I'm not actually up to date with the
He's
rules.
offside, by the way.
He's disallowed it. Jeez.
So it is 1-0 Man United, and the goal was given offside. I think it was Konza. That's what the
It
replay
doesn't
panned
look.
to. And Steven Gerrard does not look happy. God love him. But look, Obafemi, at the moment he needs to sort himself out in terms of playing and scoring. Anything else I don't really care about. Stephen Callahan says Obafemi was capped at senior level against Denmark in the Nations League. I'm pretty sure that's correct. And Shane Long.
It is correct. Absolutely 100%.
Yeah.
He played in our house. He came off the bench with 20 minutes to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Shane Long says Jack Brady's Shelburne goalkeeper. It's not the Shelburne goalkeeper anymore.
He's the Treaty United goalkeeper. And
he's a good lad.
fine keeper. He's a good lad. We had him in Limerick before. He was the last Limerick FC goalkeeper as well. And he's grew up in Killaloo, just outside Limerick, and his father was a Dub. I'm not sure where Jack was born when they moved down, but anyway, he's a great signing for Treaty, and I'm sure he'll probably be the number one for Treaty this season with Ty Grind gone to Bowes.
Yeah, he's his teacher. Ethan is in the comments and he says, "Give us some African Cup of Nations watch-alongs." We may do.
Yeah, sure, why not? You know,
be a bit of crack. Gary's mates with all of them since he was over in Qatar, getting pictures.
yeah,
of them all.
it's I actually I'm in a WhatsApp group, and two of the group, Egypt are playing Nigeria tomorrow, and two of the lads are going to be at the game, and one
That's
supporting
during the day, yeah.
during the day at 4:00, one supporting each team. You know, so and I actually got to a couple of the Egypt games, and I got to see. There's actually some fantastic fans there. Love Mauritania, Sudan, great for. They were being absolutely hammered by Egypt, but their fans just never stopped singing. Whatever, they were 4 or 5-0 down, and they just kept going and going and going. And so, look, I'd actually love to go to one of those tournaments someday. I was actually booked to go to Morocco there a few years ago, and with the Ebola outbreak, the tournament was cancelled, and it got moved to somewhere down in West Africa. But I'd love to go to one of them someday, but I don't think it's in the near future anyway.
Yeah. Would you go to a Copa America game?
Yeah, I'd love to. The problem with the Copa America is it always clashes with our Euros, whereas the African Cup of Nations is normally on in January, which is there's no international matches for us, and there's no League of Ireland or anything, so it'll be a good time to go. I'd love to see a Copa America. It's actually one of the things they always invite a couple of countries into it, and it's something I think we should have looked to have gone to a couple of times. We might have had an opportunity to go, and that would be absolutely amazing if we got to play in one. But yeah, I'd love to go.
I think it'd be class. Yeah. Just as well as that, obviously we know Pico Lopez was playing for Cape Verde and he got a win against Ethiopia yesterday. So well done to him.
They won 1-0. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's getting a lot of coverage at the moment, which is great. It's great for him. It's great for the league. I think he was on Sky Sports as well today. I'm pretty sure. Eugene McGeever asks thoughts on Luca Dean being linked with Aston Villa in this month's January transfer window. He looks like he's going to go. It's Talksport said he's agreed terms. So I think they're just trying to negotiate the transfer, the value. So I think Everton want 25 million. I think they've offered 23. So I'd imagine that'll just haggle on for about a week or so, and he'd be sold. It's a good move for Villa. He obviously fell out with Rafa Benitez, and Rafa has already made 2 signings, and it looks like that's out of the Luka Dean money. So I loved Luka Dean while he was at Everton, and I wish him all the best. Really, for someone to come in and take Leighton Baines' place as easily as he did, just shows how good of a player he is and was. Oh, here's Villa are in now. Oh, good stuff. So yeah, look, I wish him well. It's a shame to see him leave the way it has, but that's football, and sometimes you have to have no sentiment about it. I think I was feeling a little bit down about it, and then kind of speaking to my cousin about it. I was just kind of like, yeah, look, we're just gonna have to move on from it, and it's not like he won anything or anything at the club, so you can't call him a legend, so to speak. But then again, you could say the same about Coleman and Baines and Jagielka and Cahill and so on. So, but he's definitely bordering here. Villa in 1-on-1. Oh, how's he missed? Goal. Watkins. He's offside again. Ings was offside this time. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Luka Dean. I wish him well if he goes to Villa. We got a new left back in Mikolenko from Dynamo Kiev. I didn't watch the game against Hull the other day, but I believe he played well, and I think he's supposed to be a very good left back. So look, we have to wait and see how he pans out. And Patterson as well, who came from Rangers. I haven't really seen him play. All I know is he's playing with Scotland and done quite well, but only played a handful of games for Rangers this season. So I think he'd be more of a...
I think he's one for the future. He's a right back anyway, but I think he's still very young, so he's probably one for the future.
I think he's going to just learn off Coleman, and John Joe Kenny is there as well, and he's been doing okay, even though he doesn't really get much of a look in. But he got 2 assists in his last 2 games, John Joe Kenny, to be fair to him. So I don't see the point in taking him out, but he's been playing Coleman all over the place. He's been playing him in a back 3. He's been playing him as left wing back the week before. So yeah, but it looks as though Rafa's going to stick with that back 3, which could be good for Ireland if he sticks with that back 3, with Coleman being the right-sided centre back in that. And if Patterson's learning from Coleman in that position, I don't think there's too many better to learn off. I know Seamus has declined in terms of his legs and pace in recent years, but for years, about 10 years, he was always up and down that right back spot, and was one of the best in the Premier League for years. He obviously got into the team of the season and stuff like that. So I think Patterson's in a good position to learn off someone like him. Adrian says, I was at Robbie Keane's debut as well. He played really well. At the end of the game was a scream though. The announcer said the player of the match is number 10. Obviously Ortega.
No.
Anyway, massive roar from the Irish. Was it Daniel Ortega? Was that his name? I thought it was Ariel Ortega. I'm pretty sure it's Ariel Ortega.
Yeah, we'll have to Google it. I'm having doubts now, so...
No, I'm thinking it is Ariel Ortega.
So...
I'll tell you now.
He was one of those... I mean, Argentina produced so many of those wonderful number 10s, obviously Maradona and Lionel Messi, but there's just so many other top players like that,
Ariel Ortega, as
yeah.
he said. I remember him because he would have played in that 98 World Cup. He says I'm right about Ariel.
Yeah. Daniel is the Colombian or something, isn't it, or something else? Anyway,
I'm not sure, and I wasn't trying to be smart about that. Yeah. It's just when I hear your name, I was just positive about that, Adrian. So I don't think I was trying to put you down on it. So he said, followed by abrupt silence for Ortega. Shane Long's gone off. He says, great stream, lads. I'm off. See you later, Shane. Good luck with the rest of the FA Cup. David Salter says this Man United team probably won't make top 4. Jesus, they're brutal. Go a goal up and park the bus. They need a midfield. Poor Slippy G. He'll never live down that Slippy G moment, will he?
No, that was his one chance to win the Premier League. Lots of fans remind him about that. Seems to be doing a fine job as manager. Yeah, I don't think Man United will make top 4 the way things are going. Although 4th place is still up for grabs, you'd have to think that Liverpool, Chelsea, and Man City will be the top 3. Maybe not in that order, but 4th place. I mean, Arsenal were starting to look good. Tottenham could still even sneak into it. West Ham had looked good for so long under David Moyes, but they have so many matches. And Man United, you would have had to say were the favourites, but I'm not so sure. I mean, they looked really bad against Wolves. They don't look that great tonight. And they need to turn things around. It doesn't look like some of the guys are playing for Rangnick either, which isn't a good sign,
I think Arsenal are in with a shout. I think Arteta's starting to come good. He's got rid of a lot of the bad eggs, and he's bringing in a lot of younger players who seem to be taken to him and playing for him. And I like Arsenal, It'd be very interesting to see if they get into the top 4 and he's allowed to build on that again. And will they give him the new contract as well? Because it seems to be with Arsenal, they win 3 games, Arteta's a legend. They might lose 2, sack Arteta. It's weird.
Well, they just lost to Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup, which was definitely their best chance of a trophy. So that's the problem, But they do. Arsenal can look really good. And yeah, they're probably, if anything, Arsenal are probably maybe the favourites for it. But then I would have said even a week ago, Tottenham looked really good. They dug out a few results. Great win at Watford. And but they were horrible. I know they got through in the FA Cup, but they were absolutely horrible against Morecambe. They were booed off, So and they were very poor against Chelsea during the week in the League Cup semi-final. So yeah, it's probably going to North London. I don't think West Ham are going to do it. I think David Moyes just has too many games, too many competitions to focus on. And but he's done a phenomenal job at West Ham. But I think 4th place might just be a bridge too far for them. But probably between Man United, Arsenal and Tottenham, with maybe Tottenham the favourites to sneak it at this point. But well, of course, it's Arsenal Tottenham actually next weekend, isn't it? That'll tell a lot. That'll be some game. So yeah, maybe come back to me after that one if I'm sitting on the fence a bit too much.
Just watching the game here, just the refs letting a lot of fouls go there. The players are just clattering into each other. You best be careful, or someone might actually get badly injured. Just on what you said there with the top 4, I think as well we have to take into account that Conte's not brought in any players of his own yet. He looks like he's trying to get rid of Bergwijn and a couple of other players. It'll be interesting to see who he brings in, and then obviously who he brings in might give Spurs that added quality as well. Other teams might bring in players. Rangnick might bring in players, might get rid of players as well. Arteta might bring in players, might get rid of Aubameyang. I'd imagine if they can get rid of Aubameyang for a decent fee, they could bring in some players. Oh, what a good strike. Good save by De Gea from Matty Cash. But yeah, I think it'll all come down to who...
Aubameyang, he's on, I think it's at 350,000 a week. And
but still... Newcastle come in from?
Maybe. Yeah, Newcastle is probably one of the options, I suppose.
You'd question his motivation if he went there, though,
Well, you have to question his motivation since he signed that contract, because he just hasn't been doing it for Arsenal since then. And it's been very, very disappointing, I think he's got COVID at the moment as well, so he's not available for Gabon, for the African Cup of Nations. And I don't know what... they were 1-0 up earlier, actually. I forgot to check how they did against the Comoros Islands. I saw it till half time. We can check that now. They won 1. They won 1-0. Yeah. But
clattered there, is it?
I mean, certainly if Arsenal would be happy to get him off the books, I think at that wages, Arsenal would be happy to get him off the books, even with a very small transfer fee, if any,
Yeah, for financial fair play, I think it'd be massive for them because they have quite a good kind of structured team there. You know, the players that he's brought in, like players like Kieran Tierney, has been a good player for them. What's the right back? Was it Tavares? He's starting to do quite well. There's another lad. Is he Japanese fullback? Tamiyasu or something.
Yeah,
He's been
I don't know the name here.
well, anyway, he's within. They've got Saka. They've got Emile Smith Rowe. And in fairness to Arteta, you have to say he's done a great job with them. Like the two of them, Smith Rowe has played for England and scored for England. Saka played up into the Euros final. I know he missed a penalty or whatever, but he's brought these players through.
He played really well. And Arsenal, sorry, I should have mentioned Arsenal are still in the League Cup, so they have a great chance of a trophy there, even though they're playing Liverpool. They wouldn't rule them out of that either. So,
Well, Arteta's won the thing. What Arsenal have is Arteta's won the FA Cup with Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? And they beat a good Chelsea team.
yeah.
If it was a couple of seasons ago, now Aubameyang was actually the man who helped them win that FA Cup. But I think for Arsenal's sake, I think that they're sick of having him there. I know they like Lacazette because he actually puts himself about and gets involved. But Martinelli's another player who they seem to like there as well. Yeah, I think, look, Ethan says Tomiyasu, the new fullback baller. We'll take him at Bally Buffet. So yeah, he's a good player as well. So the signings that Arteta has brought in have been quite good for them. And I think if he was able to get rid of Aubameyang, because he's not doing anything for him other than causing him hassle, then I think he'd be able to do something with that money that he may be able to spend and bring in good quality players. But I think if Arteta keeps going the way he's going, and I know, look, they lost in the FA Cup or whatever, but I think if he keeps going the way he's going, in terms of the way he recruits players and does well with them, I think the Arsenal job's been a bit of a poison chalice anyway after Wenger. So it's one of those where I think that Arteta City could be looking at him to replace Pep if he keeps going the way he's going. He's obviously been at City and done it that kind of way, you know. And historically, Barcelona were like that, where they bring managers who kind of play similar to Pep or similar methods, and they played them. Oh, that was close.
Paul, my laptop might actually die. I'm having battery trouble with it. It's plugged in, but it's still gone down to 6% now.
Is the switch not on? No.
It's plugged in and everything, but it doesn't.
I think you're gone. I think Gary's gone. I'll just remove you out of the stream, Gary, no problem. Guys, get your comments in. Gary has, I don't know, his laptop just died, he said. So it's just me. There's 20 minutes left of this game here. It's still 1-0 to Manchester United against Aston Villa. Any other comments coming through? Kelly Delahunt says, hi lads, what do you think of the changes of Cork City getting promoted, or the chances of, says the changes, but I'm sure he means the chances of Cork City getting promoted this season? I just read Noam Walsh's comment. Gary is officially left the stream, so it's just me for the next 20 minutes. Donny van de Beek is coming on for Cavani. What do I think about Cork? The changes, I think they've actually bought smartly. I think they've recruited smartly. I think them or Waterford will be the favourites to go up this season, along with Bray and Cabo or whatever you want to call them. Those three I think will be the favourites. Footbin podcast says, what do you guys think of Treaty United's chances of promotion this season? I think the only way they'll get promotion is through the playoffs. I thought what Tommy Barrett did last season was absolutely brilliant for the club, but to try and replicate it again, I think he's lost players as well, some of his better players that came in and had a really good season. It's going to be difficult. I think a playoff final is more realistic for I think Galway as well. Yeah, Ethan just came in and said Galway have fancied themselves too. So there's healthy competition there, but a playoff, I think trying to win the playoffs is probably their best route. I don't think they will get automatic promotion, but then again, you could have said the same about UCD last year. So I don't know, they didn't get automatic promotion, but you wouldn't have said that they would have went up, but they did. Um, what else have we got there? On Walsh's, Gary has went off to Qatar again. I think Gary knows this game's going to go to extra time, and he didn't want to stay on for extra time, so he just left. That's what I think. Yeah. He's having issues with his laptop. Sorry, I'm talking to my microphone. This is the first time that we've done a watch along in ages. We just kind of stopped doing them. People were giving out, oh, what are you doing on Premier League teams and blah blah blah. But we just said, why not? We'll just get back at it tonight and we'll do it. Man United are on the attack here with Mason Greenwood. Eddie cuts in and Martinez makes a good save. Still 1-0 in the 73rd minute. Ethan says goal. Yeah, I said that already. What do you think who do you think would be the next manager to get the sack from the Premier League? Says Eugene McGeever. And I'm guessing Eugene, because you always mention Everton in the comments that you're an Everton fan. Good man, by the way. I think the next manager gets sacked could be Ragnick. It's a tough one. Dean Smith won't get sacked. Eddie Howe, if he doesn't start winning games, he could be sacked after only taking over. And Rafa, as you said, I think Rafa, yeah. He could be. It's interesting though, will Rafa be able to, the players that are being bought now at Everton, Rafa's signings or not? Because if they're not Rafa's signings, then he could well get sacked. But Mashiri's come out and backed they come out and backed him publicly, and I know that's the dreaded public vote of confidence, but he seems to be quite adamant that Rafa's going to be there to stay, and I don't think they want to face any more financial fair play, stopping them going and buying players. And I'd imagine that Benitez's payoff would be quite handsome for him. If he does get the sack, I'd imagine that he'd have to be paid off as well, unless there was something written in the contract where if you do shit you have to go, which he has done shit, but a lot of the time he hasn't had the players. Up until recently, I've been questioning the way Everton have been playing recently, just purely down to the fact that he has had players slowly come on back, and he's shot himself in the foot a lot of the time. We got lucky against Hull the other night, but I can't identify the style of play that Everton are trying to play. Every week it's a new formation and it just looks all over the place. So that kind of says to me that that's a manager under pressure and trying to figure out ways to get results, because he just doesn't know how to at the moment. Ethan says all teams that are in the playoffs will lose to Harps. So what odds? That's true. Eugene thinks Big Dunk take over. I think what should happen is that Rafa should get sacked. When you look at his record so far this season's been abysmal, and I'm kind of on that. I just think his appointment's run its course. The fans aren't happy, and I think if you want to galvanise and get the fans back on side, bring in Big Dunk till the end of the season. If it goes well, it goes well. If it doesn't go well, we're not going to get relegated. So why not just play him and let him kind of have a say, because it always seems that he doesn't really have a say, and the only time he did really have a say was obviously when he was manager, and then he went in as assistant to Carlo and he had a bit of a say then, but under Silva we know he didn't have much of a say, and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a bit of an annoying one. I'd like to see Big Dunk at this stage just given an opportunity. Everyone says about all these managers and they haven't been all these managers should be ahead of Ferguson. He's never managed a team, but it's like, how do you get experience if you're not given a job? David Salter says, where do you think Everton will finish? Have the fans accepted Rafa there? Will they make any more signings in January? It looks like Alexis Sanchez has been touted as a signing. I don't know. It seems to be a loan signing. So I don't know. Have fans accepted him? No, and obviously that doesn't help with the record and losing games. You know, if anyone's ever going to get on side, it's You have to win games. Now, he has brought in players like Demarai Gray, who's been our player of the season, and Josh Townsend won the game for us the other night, and he brought through properly Anthony Gordon. So I will say that in his defence, there's been positives, but it's just, as I said earlier about the formation and stuff like that, we're just so weird to watch, and Rondon playing, and Rondon's just really poor, and we just don't look like we have any sort of identity. So to give you an answer, the fans haven't accepted him, and I'd say two more players probably come in on loan. Lucas Steen is going to leave anyway at this stage, but yeah. Get some more comments gone in, because Gary's deserted me in my hour of need, and there's 12 minutes added on here. I'm sure there's going to be more due to the fact that there was the VAR check for the goal that was disallowed for Villa, the Ings goal. So stick with me and keep the comments flowing, and I'll keep answering them. I hope you are watching, by the way. Anyone who's watching, it's 78 minutes, 1-0 to Manchester United against Aston Villa in the FA Cup. It's been a very good game, to be fair. It's been end to end. Both sides have had chances. As I said, there was a disallowed goal, which was very, very tight, and the VAR took so long to disallow it. But Buendia is coming off, El Ghazi is coming on. So it looks like Villa are going for it now. Yeah, El Ghazi. He's actually linked with Everton as well, David. You were asking about signings. He'd be part of the Luca Dean deal if it happens, but it's only speculation at the minute. 7 people online. Get the comments in, lads. Don't forget to give the video a like, and don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the channel. I reckon United will score another goal later on here, but I would not rule out Villa scoring a goal either. Sorry, my camera's here, TV's there, and the computer's there, so I have to look across. There we go. Eugene says, on Toffee TV they were chatting about Mina of Everton today because of his injury. Yeah, Mina, he's Everton's best defender, but he doesn't play enough. He's like, what's the point? I'd actually sell him at this stage and get someone else in who plays week in, week out. Obviously a quality player, but he just can't seem to stay fit. David says, Irish players to watch in 2022. Evan Ferguson. I think he's the standout at the minute. And I think there'll be a couple of players who you kind of be looking at bordering a call-up. Jimmy Dunn. Darragh Lenihan, I know he's been there before, but he's playing really good for Blackburn at the moment. And I'm trying to think of some more attackers. So I think Gavin Kilkenny could be one that maybe gets a call up in March. I'd love to see El Bazzetti push on again this season, get a call up. So those players, I think, if I'm missing someone, please give me your shout as well. What's the other question? Any word on season tickets? They were to make an announcement in December. It was great to be back in the Aviva. I don't know. I haven't heard anything yet. Gary says that they're going to be announcing friendlies soon, so I imagine they will be probably part of that season ticket. I'd imagine. So we'll wait and see. I think since the COVID, the new restrictions have come in again now, that they're probably kind of going, well, what can we do here? Because they're changing all the time. So I think that'll be announced soon enough this week. Ethan says, I wouldn't mind pens for the drama. I do not want penalties. Just if it went straight to penalties after the game, I would be happy. But just to sit through extra time as well by myself, because Gary's gone. I wouldn't. But look, it is what it is. Just watching here. Matty Cash is doing well on the right hand side for Villa. I should have ordered food for after this game. Do you know that? I'm starving. Oh, Danny Ings. Oh, he just couldn't get over that ball and just kind of skims off his head. It actually looked like it was going goalwards, but it wasn't. let us know where you're watching from as well. Where you're watching, you might be watching in Australia or America or Canada or a foreign country, or you might be watching in Ballybuffet if you're Ethan, or you might be watching in Phibsborough if you're Ethan. David Salter says Rashford looks like he's on strike. Rashford's a bit of a weird player for me. Some weeks he could be absolutely unplayable, and the next week he is dirt. I don't know what's. I've always waited for him to kind of kick on to that next level. He just never has. Decent squad player. I think he'd be actually good at. He'd be like Demarai Gray. I think he'd be good at like an Everton. But I think just Manchester United at this moment in time are just, I think, too big of a club, and I think the fan standards of him are a bit too high. I think they want it to be something that he's probably not gonna ever really be, like a Lingard. Rashford gives the ball into the box. It's cleared by Konza. Eugene says, would you like to see Ross Barkley back at Everton this January window? Yeah, nah, it's alright. Ethan says he's not watching the match, but he's Phibsborough loyal. Rashford only good when United are 2-0 up. Yeah, I'd probably tend to agree. Well, appreciate you watching. I know you don't have a TV in your house either, so hopefully this is enough entertainment for the evening. Owen says, watching in Waterford, Paul, top man. Owen. He says Gary is watching it from Qatar. Gary is probably WhatsApp me saying sorry. Yep. Sorry it died. It loses charge even when plugged in, and video very heavy. So that's Gary out for the night. He might be watching on his phone. So if you're watching, Gary, we miss you. And Eugene says he's watching in Northern Ireland. Good man, Eugene. Big Everton fan. Next question, Eugene. I want it not to be about Everton. Jesse Lingard and some other players coming on now. Bruno Fernandes is going off. So I'll tell you who the other player is now when he comes on. But Fernandes is going off. And he's given De Gea the captain's armband. It is in the 84th minute, but there will be probably, I would say, 6 to 8 minutes of added time on top of this when it gets to the 90 minutes. So it's still a lot of time to play. Ethan says soundtrack. This is the soundtrack to his Tinder swipes. That's lovely to know. Rashford has gone off for Lingard, and Fernandes has come off for Elanga. So there you go. And David did tell me it is Elanga as he was coming on. So thanks for that, David. I've never heard of Elanga before. Villa have made a sub as well. Ramsey's gone off, and Philogini, I missed the last bit of his name, Binacle or something. Philogini Pinacle, I hope I said that right, has come on there. So sounds like a kind of Nigerianish name, or descent of name. Yeah, so where are we at now? It's the 8 people on. We're in the 86th minute, and Aston Villa really need to push on now and just try and get that goal. I think they should be trying the kitchen sink at Man United here. Matty Cash is doing a lot of good work on that right hand side. That lad Philogini has what a genie. He has won a corner, hitting the ball off Fred, and it's a corner for Aston Villa here, which they'll be hoping McGinn's going to take it on his lovely left peg. I'd be interested to see now if Villa can score, because they've obviously got a lot of height there with Mings and Konza. El Ghazi's in there as well. So let's just see. He's taking it now. It looks like it's overhit. Yeah, gone out for the goal kick. He's overhit it. One of the Aston Villa players is going down, Konza, and their United fans, or the United players, sorry, are just shouting at him. So they think they're trying to say he dived. So yeah, the ref seems to be looking at it though. I don't know what I think. I think there's going to be a VAR check. Replay's coming in now. And Luke Shaw, he hits him in the face. He's not really looking at the ball. He kind of hits him the back of his hand. I think it's going to be looked at, but it'd be very harsh. The ref wasn't far away, actually, to be fair. See, I haven't got the volume on, so I can't tell. Oh, he's a good busted nose. Konza does. Come back to the comments in a sec. It looks like Shaw, he didn't mean to hit him, and he kind of catches him, but it wasn't enough to kind of. Yeah, I don't think it's anything. I think he's just got a bloody nose. He just kind of caught him as he was running, and Konza went down, chancing his arm, but it looks because the ref was, from where I am to the TV, going away, which isn't far. Right, where are we? McTominay and Fred wouldn't get on Everton's bench. I like McTominay. I actually like McTominay. I think he's what Everton are lacking at the moment. I think he'd be perfect behind Alan and Decore. But anyway, that's a story for a different day. A lot of United fans seem to like McTominay. Don't see why you don't. You're not, but I don't know if you're a United fan or not, David. But Fred done all right. He set up the goal. He's been doing well since Solskjaer's gone. Excuse me. Charlie Adam says opinions on. I should start putting the comments up on the thing. Sorry. Opinions on the first division not having 10 teams. What? I'm gonna sound a little bit arrogant here, maybe. Like, I don't care as much because Shelburne aren't in it about the first division this year. I know I should, but I just kind of don't. I'd have liked to see another team in there. I think it should have been an excuse to maybe put in an area that doesn't have a team. I don't know, like a team from the Mayo League or a team from the Kerry League or something like that, and go from there. But it doesn't bother me as much as it probably bothers you that you're asking, Charlie. Just pull that. So it doesn't bother me probably as much as it bothers you, but maybe that's because shares have gone up now that I kind of feel like that. Maybe I don't know. I can't really put my finger on it, to be honest. Eugene says the Ed Sheeran upcoming tours in the UK and Ireland this year. Thanks for that, Eugene. Are you gonna go? Let me know if you're going to go to the tour. I like Ed Sheeran myself. Are you a big Ed Sheeran fan? Let us know in the comments. Gary has deserted us, if you don't know. Yeah, look, I said 6 to 8 minutes at a time. It's 6 minutes. It's 1-0 Man United. We've got 6 minutes left. That I hope Aston Villa don't score, because I really don't want to go to extra time because I'm starving and I have a load of text messages to get back to. They only ever message me when I'm doing these types of things. I never get messages when I'm actually just sitting there, but it is what it is. Alanga is on the attack here for Manchester United. Cuts in behind, gives a good ball into the box, but it falls to the Aston Villa left back, who clears up the pitch to El Ghazi, who kicks it back to Manchester United, but it's gone out for throw in. Come on, the Hoop Celtic. Keith says, happy Monday, Polski. Thank you. Happy Monday to you, my friend. Hope you're keeping well. You're doing very good things on your channel at the moment. Well done to you. So keep it going. Anyone who's watching as well might check out Come on, the Hoop Celtics YouTube channel for your Celtic fan. Keith, there's a lot of reaction videos and stuff like that for transfer news and all that other type of stuff for Celtic fans. So if you're a Celtic fan, check them out. I'm really feeling the love today off a lot of people, so you love to see it. He says, cheers, Paul. No problem. Keep up the good work. Jesse Lingard is on the counter attack here for Manchester United. He gives it out to Greenwood, who slips it back in to Lingard, but he keeps in play. He's over towards the corner flag, getting marked by a lovely bit of skill to get away from the two Aston Villa players. Greenwood's cutting in now. He's at the edge of the box. He shoots, and it's straight at Martinez, who picks it up. And he's looking to get that club on, or he's looking to get Villa on the attack. He says, Keith says, come on. Now, how's the Villa playing? Sorry, I'm distracted because my dog is drinking his water there. and I'm just worried if it's been picked up on the stream. He says, "How's the Villa playing?" They're playing all right. They just can't score. They were unlucky with a goal early on as well because they had the ball in the net, and Ings was marginally offside. VAR disallowed it. They look like it's a goal kick here now. There's probably looked like a foul. I think he was offside. Just 3 minutes left in this game. Ethan says, "What do you think of the Johnny Kenny move, actually, boss?" I think it's a good move for Celtic in terms of value and a class player going over. I just hope that it doesn't go the way it's gone with previous Irish players before him, and he goes over and doesn't get a look in. I know Liam Scales has started to get a look in, but even it's not been as much as you probably would have hoped, and he's kind of just been brought in for games where Celtic knew they were going to kind of win. I'd like to see him be a bit more of a regular. I don't think he's going to go in there and be regularly playing straight away. Villa are on here. It's Ghazi fires over. So I think if you can go there and maybe start off well, but I thought Hibs would have been a better move, if I'm being honest with you, just for game time for him. But it's a good move value wise for Celtic. Keith says, "How was the cup final hand?" Yeah, it was deadly. I had some idiot sitting in front of me for ages though, and he was turning around trying to start fights with everyone. So for the whole first half, he was ruining the game for everybody, and he was telling everyone, "F COVID," and he was trying to pull people's masks off and stuff like that, and he was just horrible. But he was thrown out by the police. He did hit one of the policemen, so I'm sure he's rotting in a cell at the moment. So good luck to him. But as far as the game was, it was a good game. Obviously, 3 really good goals in the second half as well. Kyogo is an animal. But it was great. It was just great to be at a game. I'd never been to Hampden before, sorry. And it was good to see someone like Liam Scales going over and winning the cup. Barry says, "Do you think Scales has a shot of taking that left back position?" I think, yeah, he does. He's done well for them when called upon. He scored for them. He's gotten assists. He hasn't let the team down when he's been brought in my opinion. And I thought he was good that day against Hibs as well. I'd love to see him. If you're talking about the Irish left back position, I don't know. We don't really have anyone there. McLean's agent, and Stevens' agent, Ryan Manning's there. So yeah, he does have it, but he needs to play, and that's the thing. Come on, this Hoop Celtic says he's very fast, that Kenny boy. Yes, he is. Eugene Ed Sheeran is coming to Boucher Road playing Fields in Belfast. Thanks for that, Eugene. Thanks for that. Come on, the Hoops. He says, "Thank God he got lifted." I don't know. There's a reported interest in Afalabi. Did Lee O'Connor move permanently to Tranmere? I don't think he's moved permanently. Oh, you're mad. Hang on now. No, it looks like this is going to be the last play of the game. Man United kick it upfield. The ref's checking his watch. This should be the last thing. Douglas Luiz. It's over. 1-0 to Manchester United. They've won a goal from Scott McTominay. I am going to shoot off because I'm starving, and the dog needs to go out to the toilet because he's farting here and the smell of it. So yeah, thanks for joining me in the comments. I'll look to start getting the lads to start doing more of these with me. I don't really like doing them by myself, but look, if I have to do them by myself, I'll do them by myself. Thanks for joining us, and I love getting you guys in the comments and keeping the thing going, because I then feel like I'm not doing it by myself, because you're getting in with the comments and stuff like that. Gary's a laptop shat the bed, so unfortunately that is the case. But Slippy G is a very unhappy man tonight, so God love him. But listen, these are all legends, and I'll speak to you soon. It's great to hear from you all, and yeah, take care. I'll talk to you in a bit.